Everyone, it's Coach Mo. It's America's kick-ass career coach. Why do I say kick-ass? Because I want all the women on this planet to feel like they can conquer anything, do anything, handle anything, and totally rock their career and lives. And I do that by helping you bring your soul to work. And today I'm going to talk about job trauma and why this is such a punishing career sin. This is an amazingly pervasive problem in our world today because there is so much going on in the work world that is affecting the souls who work there. And I'm going to handle job trauma today. I'm going to talk about what it is. I'm going to talk about how to overcome it, how to navigate it. I'm going to talk about the exact ways that we help our clients work through and solve this big problem. I want to impress upon you one thing, that job trauma is a real situation that is caused by massive nervous system erosion, basically. I'm going to talk a lot about that. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm happy it's Nurses Week this week. So if you're listening to this live, I say happy Nurses Day to all the nurses out there. If you're catching me on a recorded episode of this, hey, I'm loving my nurses 24/7, 365. My mom is a nurse as well. And we were talking the other day, I took her to the doctors, and we were talking the other day about what it is to be a nurse and why we just kind of felt that we're so good at being nurses, to be honest with you. And here's the thing, nurses have to have practical knowledge that helps them navigate unexpected circumstances pretty regularly. So if you're a nurse, you get what I'm talking about. Even if you're a cardiac nurse, you're going to see things that aren't predictable. If you're a cancer nurse, you're going to see things that aren't predictable. Pediatric, oncology, GI, any specialty. If you're working in a primary care office, you're going to see things that are not predictable. You're going to have to navigate the variabilities of humans. Oh, if only humans were predictable and did what they were supposed to, we wouldn't have so many problems. And that's what it's like to be in the work world as well. We have variables because there's humans out there. And to naysayers who might be saying, oh, but robots are going to replace us. No, robots in the workplace, automation has helped humans elevate their contribution. You know, with all due respect, we're built with a conscious, a subconscious, critical thinking, quick decision making. We can see things from a wide view, and we're able to do things that right now robots can't do. But robots can do things that we can do a little bit better because they don't have variability of emotions, blood sugar drops, bad mornings with their kids and spouse. And frankly, I can't wait for self-driving cars to be a reality because I know once a computer gets done right, it can drive a lot better than me most of the time. It can be sharper and reactionary most of the time better than me. But we have to program those computers better and get better at being the programmer of all the variability that happens and the decision making. It's all algorithms and it's doable. And so smart people have to do that. But once we have enough thousands, probably tens or hundreds of thousands of man hours, woman hours on that project, there's probably millions of people hours actually on those types of projects around the globe, we'll be able to figure out and we'll be able to save death and dismemberment from auto accidents for the most part. And that's really exciting to me. What does this have to do with job trauma? Well, it has to do with job trauma because the number one reason that people suffer job trauma is job loss. Oftentimes at the hand of an employer they've been with for a while. So why is that so traumatic? And you know, I've lost my job 6 times in my career. 6. Now you might be saying, well, Mo, are you that sucky of an employee? You know what? I went with somewhat risky employment situations from time to time. I went with organizations and companies that made changes and reorganized things. And I think there were legitimately two of those instances where I rubbed the person the wrong way, who eventually got into the decision-making capacity. And that's it. And when you play the game at the highest levels, you're also a little bit more susceptible to someone wanting their own VP or their own COO or something like that. You're just a little bit more prone to that. All that saying, the number one reason we have job trauma is because people lose their jobs. And why is that so traumatic? It's a job. Well, we spend 40 hours a week to 60 hours a week on average in a job for X number of weeks, 48 weeks, 50 weeks a year. That's a lot of time. 2,000 hours a year if we basically work 40 hours, 50 weeks. 2,000 hours. That's a lot of time. We don't spend 2,000 hours doing any other activity awake in our entire year as much as working. So we might want to consider that there's a relationship there. There's a set of expectations and principles around the work that we do. This sets up the conditions for us to be productive. We understand who our boss is, who our subordinates are, who our colleagues are off to the side. We know when a certain meeting is called, what it's about. We understand the rules of engagement and what's going on in the work world. We become enmeshed in that community of work, of people, of expectations and rules and philosophy and mission statement and vision and all of that. We're enmeshed, and our identity is interwoven in the identity of the organization in which we work. That's what happens. We're human beings. We're social creatures. We get enmeshed in whatever community we're part of. And we're part of several different communities and social groups as a human being, our family being the primary one and our work being the secondary one. So when we are losing a job, we're losing a social network. We're losing a social sphere of our contribution and influence and relationships. Damaged. Boom. It can be as severe as a divorce or a death of a family member. Yet it's looked at as a transactional, situational, you lost your job. Again, I've lost my job 6 times in my career. I know what it feels like to lose my job. As a matter of fact, one time, the very first time I lost my job, I was promised that job back in 30 days. And like a young, naive, believable person, I believed it. I had enough money to live on for 30 days, but as a young person, having just started out my career, I didn't have too much more than that. So I waited and waited. And this was before fax machines, before text messages, before email. And I had to do telephone calls. Hey, is that job, still going to happen? Yeah, we're trying to sort things out. Well, it turned out it was greater than 60 days. And I had to convince the person to hire me before they were really ready to hire me because I ran out of money. I ran out of money, and I was literally at the grocery store, pennies, counting my pennies, buying cans of soup for dinners and lunches. And I don't know if I was smart enough to have people take me out for lunch or dinner, but that's what I should have done. I'm not sure if I did. It was a long time ago. But I remember the horrible feeling of feeling like I was stupid, feeling like I was the dumbest person on the planet to wait for that. And then I was thinking, should I apply for jobs? And then I just said, I'm just going to call them up and say, are you hiring me or not? So they hired me back a little earlier than they wanted, but they got me back. And I worked in that job until we then got a management contract. Long story short, I helped the company grow and expand, and my career kind of took off from that point. And then there was 5 other times. Okay. Each time losing greater income, each time having a greater lapse in the time between jobs. And frankly, each time upgrading from that. Each time an upgrade, an upgrade, an upgrade. Did it scare the heck out of me? Yes. Did it hurt me like hell? Yes. Did it feel like a punch in the gut? Absolutely. But now that I'm a career coach, and now that I've been through an executive career that spanned decades, and I basically experienced almost everything I coach my ladies through, I now know exactly what it is that goes on in the body when we have a job loss. Again, the number one job trauma. What are the other job traumas? And I'm going to go back to what happens in the body because it happens with all of these things. So, job loss is trauma number one. Toxic work environment is trauma number two. Bully boss. And then under that category, harassing environment, sexual harassment at work, and the other things that pertain to basically being degraded and demeaned in front of people, told you're stupid, etc. Now, I got to be honest with you, I probably said stuff to people in my workplace as a leader or executive manager when I was nervous, frustrated, under a deadline, pressured. We're never our best selves. And if they're situational, that's kind of part of being human, having situational episodes where we're like, is everyone around here stupid or what? Let's get going. So if it's situational, I mean, we've got to clear the air and pick up ourselves and march on. Real job trauma happens when it's an ongoing, everyday, regular trauma, insult to our personhood. And we've had the Me Too movement, and we've had a lot of uncoverings of usually males dominating females in the workplace and taking advantage of them. That's been in the headlines. Of course, there were males dominating other people in other organizations for decades that we've found out and uncovered. So all of this stuff is beginning to be not okay. When I started my nursing career, it was sort of okay for doctors to yell at nurses in the ICU, CCU, at the nurse's station, to get off the chair. I was told as a young nurse that if a doctor was in the area, they were to get my seat, that we had to actually stand up and let the doctor sit. Now, this was in the early 80s, and I got to tell you, it felt kind of wrong, and I thought, wow, really? Okay. And that's what women do. We do this, okay, I guess if that's what's supposed to happen. And here's the thing, we live as women in such a world of what we're supposed to do that sometimes the line of what's okay, not okay, and what we're supposed to do gets very blurry. And we've seen this in the testimonies of women who've been sexually harassed, sexually molested, sexually abused. We've seen that happen. Why didn't they come forward sooner? Because they actually had a trauma pattern which totally screwed up their judgment. It's not like you're in a normal state of humanness after you have that level of trauma and you're thinking through like you're at the top of your game. Oh, yeah, so that guy just made some sexual comment to me, and so I'm going to think rationally and clearly about what I should do here. Oh, yes, that's what's happening. I have a woman I've coached for about a year and a half, 2 years ago, over time. She's actually in my kind of graduate mastermind program. And she was telling me about something that's happening this week at a corporate leadership meeting. Effectively, she's going to be called on the carpet in front of 20 people. She's being singled out for a couple of comments that happened in an employee survey. And I said to her, oh no, that is not okay. That is not proper. That should not happen. And that is the wrong format if they want to give you coaching and propping up on what could have been done better or helping you be more effective in your role. That doesn't happen in front of 20 people. That's called being degraded, demeaned, singled out, harassed. So she's like, oh my God, you're right. So sometimes when we're put in situations, we can't see it until the death knell, until the final blow. And we're like, wait a minute. And then we're the emotionally reacting woman. And then we're the one who has to call out things from an emotional perspective. And we're not our best. And we're not maybe the most productive or effective. At that point, things are just going badly. So job trauma is such a difficult thing to get our hands around because when it's happening, you can't really handle it. What literally happens to your body, to your brain, is that your best parts of the brain, critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, imagination, are shut down. And some of your communication centers are shut down. Literally, the nervous system goes, don't need those pieces. Let's preserve our energy and let's only focus on fight, flight, freeze, essential body functions, the things you need to run fast to fight, the things that you need to be like able to beat off that invader. That's how the brain's working under stress, ongoing stress, trauma. It is not thinking clearly. Spoke to a woman today. Congratulations to her for saying yes to herself and joining my workshop. She told me today she can't even think of the right words to put on a resume because she's in beast boss, degraded, horrible feeling level of a boss. Hello to everyone who's joining me. Thank you very much for being here. Totally loving on all you ladies. So here's what happens when we're under that level of stress, when we've lost a job, when we have been ridiculed and abused by a bully boss, or perhaps even sexually abused, sexually harassed, molested, degraded in front of people. Our brain is not functioning properly. We're in a nervous system shut down. So if you've lost your job and you haven't allowed yourself the proper recovery, I'm not saying go to a beach for 6 months. There's techniques to recover the nervous system. And I'm going to talk about some of them right now in a few minutes. You have not all of the faculties to get yourself back. Note to self. Women in particular, we're wired for connection, communication, and language. That's what the brain centers are more prominent under the influence of estrogen. So if you have estrogen circulating in your body, your brain looks different than if you have testosterone circulating in your brain. Read the science. It's all there. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, partly because of socialization and conditioning, but partly because also of the effect of those hormones on the actual brain, on the physiological functionality of your brain. These things about relationships matter more to you. If you're married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Men are wired differently. I'm not saying they don't suffer job trauma from a job loss or other things, but here's the thing. Your brain is actually recovering less better as how it's wired as a woman. And frankly, I don't know if there's been studies on this, but I am sure it's true because of how we're wired and how we're socialized. We're wired to care about relationships. Almost 99% of my ladies in my workshop, one of their core values is loyalty. It's how we're wired. It's what our primitive self is all about. Come on, chickadees, let's create a nice little nest and keep it safe and warm for you to grow. Men are wired to go out and hunt and gather. Go get, go do. Not being derogatory. It's the primitive aspects of what makes us male and female. And we haven't surpassed all of that primitive programming and conditioning deep in the nervous system. It's probably going to take another 1,000 years or so to kind of even that out. And maybe it's going to take never because the estrogen testosterone effect on the brain as a young person programs it for certain things. It's just the way it is. So if you could dose kids with testosterone and estrogen equal doses, you're going to screw them up as a gender, but that would be the only way you could really kind of like even the score in the brain. That's preposterous to think about. So what's happening is that our nervous system has had an insult. Our nervous system has been conditioned in fear now. And when we have a conditioned response of fear, our decision-making is small, fear-based, can't do it, won't work for me, not possible, all of that. And I can say there's probably one or two people right now listening to me who we've had a conversation with, and their thoughts about what's possible for them and what they can do is in fear mode, danger brain. And that is secondary to a trauma. Oftentimes it's a job trauma, but sometimes what happens is there's a death in the family. There's a divorce and a job trauma, all stacking on top of each other. whew, that nervous system is shot. Yes, paralyzed. Okay. And I don't mean literally skeletal muscle paralyzed, but the central nervous system under that much stress and trauma, it just can't function properly. So what do we do? Well, first of all, most people don't respond properly enough to healing the nervous system. They're actually too busy trying to handle the situation on the outside, try to handle situationally. So what's going to happen is that we're going to try to fix out here. Meanwhile, it's in here that is broken. Nice to see all of you. Oh, so great to really see the comments and have you guys all here. So great. So what's going on in job trauma is that our nervous system is completely, well, it's shut down. Let's just call it greater than 50% of it is shut down. And the best parts of being a human are the parts that are shut down. And the reactionary, emotion-based danger and fear is like lit up like a Christmas tree. And so everything is filtered through that fear brain, through danger. Everything's a danger. Everything's a can't. Everything's a can't happen, won't, never. Everything is filtered through fear. That sucks. What do you think happens as we're dealing with job trauma or any other stack of trauma, and everything we think about or see out there appears to be a danger? We enliven the trauma pattern. It gets worse. It gets worse because our nervous system keeps getting energized for fear. Day in and day out. Sleep patterns are disrupted. Now you've got that on top of everything. Self-doubt crushing on top of it. If you've lost a job, now you have the income problem. You have debt, financial woes that are coming right over your shoulder, and you're like, no. And this is a horrible feeling. It's like you're trying to run out of a burning building and the building doesn't end. And you're running. You're trying to outrun that fire and it's just not happening. Everything you do seems to throw more gas on it. Recruiters aren't calling me. I'm never getting called back for an interview. When I go interview, I feel like an idiot. This isn't happening. Every job I'm interviewing for is 20,000 less than I used to make. I can't keep running. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep it up. And I'm losing sleep and my bills. And everyone hates me and my bills. And I can't land a job. And I can't. And this won't. And that. And now you're like in this crushing vice of life getting so bad. Trauma pattern keeps getting energized. It's like the war vet who saw an explosion and killed 10 people in front of him or her. And that keeps getting replayed. You keep energizing the nervous system and the nervous system gets freaking frayed. You learned yesterday on my episode yesterday, what happens is that level of nervous exhaustion ends up depleting the physical body in ways that are deep and profound and eventually lead to disease. This is horrible. This is not necessary, but most people are not taught what to do. It's like having your body covered half with burns and you never getting the burns taken care of. That scar tissue is going to immobilize you. Have you had a scar? I've got a bunch of them all through my body from my breast cancer surgery. And I know that those scars immobilize me. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to stretch out a little bit to stretch out some of that scar tissue. If you've ever had a burn, you know exactly what I'm talking about with that scar tissue is not flexible. That scar tissue is tight and taut, and it reduces mobility. Same thing on the energy body. When you get a trauma pattern, you know exactly what I'm talking about because the energy body becomes tight and taut and not stretchable, not pliable, not movable. And oh, thanks, Jaylee. So these types of things become real problems because now you have a job trauma that you keep repeating. That's like crushing your nervous system. It becomes a real physiological problem. It sometimes leads to such energy depletion that you literally have physical symptoms. The brain that's supposed to be working you out of this problem is shut down. 50% of it is the lights are out, boom, 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 boom. You can't even get out of your own way, literally, and you can't move forward, literally. Impossible. So you've got all these problems in front of you. And frankly, we can fix it. You can fix it on your own. You can try to do that. I did it several times. I was out of work 6 months, 8 months. When was the longest hiatus I had? Maybe like 9 months, but I got a couple of consulting gigs in the between there. So I'm resourceful. I'm like super duper resourceful. And I also had a high level career to leverage to do consulting gigs and that sort of thing. I'm just like nobody's business on resourcefulness. And so if you have that level of resourcefulness like I do, you're going to survive perhaps and be able to climb yourself back up and then get to a certain level of again, go, oh, thank God. But the trauma pattern persists. It persists until you heal the darn thing. And I can tell you, job after job, I got myself back on track, but that trauma pattern persisted. So I'd be in this new job. When are they going to fire me? When are things going to go wrong? If I go to that meeting and say something, am I going to be fired? Are they going to hate me? Are they going to eventually get rid of me? How's this going to go? And I would have this tape playing inside of me of fear. And I'd be going, oh, I can't really be myself. I can't really speak up. I better be careful. I better do. So I was on pins and needles because my nervous system was on pins and needles. And so if you take that job trauma to the next job, let me tell you something. It's going to show up. Okay? It's going to show up. And so here's the thing, what we fix the nervous system, but we fix it through a lot of the energy and spiritual techniques that have been known for thousands of years. And most people are just using these techniques for like hobby or whatever. And we're literally strategically helping women heal from deep-seated emotional scars, nervous system scars. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be one. I am a nurse. I have certified coaches. I'm a certified coach, and we take people through basic coaching and practical psychology and spiritual energy healing techniques to move past these things. And frankly, we're pretty darn effective. We have a woman in our workshop right now. Congrats to Leslie, who basically said to us, her therapist wondered what was going on because she's all of a sudden miraculously a whole lot better than she's been in a long time. So what we're doing is we are actually approaching these things from the soul level. Go ahead, Mo, bring spirit into it, bring the soul into it. And that's exactly what's necessary because I have a profound understanding now of how the energy body works and how the energy body fuels our true body, how it fuels our attention, our nervous system, our brain. And when we can re-energize the non-physical beauty of who we are and what we bring to the world, when we can bring that back to life, we resuscitate souls in my workshop. That's really the best words for it. We resuscitate souls. And when we do that, we have miraculous results. Because our clients are able to find themselves, sometimes for once in their lives, find themselves happy and joyous as to who they are. Sometimes it's the first time in a long time since high school or in their 20s that their adulthood was so ravaged with trauma and nervous system issues and being kind of like beat up and disregarded at work that it is just such a bad scene by the time they're in their 40s and 50s. And so we resurrect, let me use that word. We resurrect souls. And in doing so, we resurrect the true power and force that we have as human beings to do our good work in the world. Most women who are dealing with job trauma at a particular level of their work, they say to me, you know, I don't really need that level of work anymore. I was laid off, let go, reorganized. I don't need that anymore. I just want to go work for a nonprofit and a nice little job. I don't care if I make $30,000 less, just as long as I'm working and doing something. what that is telling me as a coach is that that person hurts so badly that they're willing to give up feeling good. They don't even understand at all how to live life anymore. They're just in protection mode. And if that's you, please give us a call. Book your clarity call. Here's the link. It's mofall.com/call me. If you are playing smaller just to protect yourself because of a job trauma, job loss, or just feeling kind of hopeless and like, I'll never be able to get back on track, or maybe you're in a work environment right now that is kicking your ass. There's a few clients recently who actually come to mind on that. Here's the thing. We've had women in our workshop who have been admitted to the hospital for a nervous breakdown, who have quit jobs because of it. We've had women in our workshop who've wanted to quit their job. And what happens in our workshop is that we coach them through the difficulties and they hang in there. Some women get severance packages or get fired at a better time than if they would have quit or if they would have really stirred the pot. So we get them going on a better solution and strategy for their next move. And then all of a sudden, that's when the shoe drops. But it's better to have coaching and to get things going in the right direction than to wait until the final end. And then you've got to pick yourself up from the deepest pit. And yeah, so some of the ladies here are commenting, loving on you kick-ass ladies. So here's the thing. You have got to recover the best parts of you under a job trauma situation. You have to recover you, your soul. You can't just handle this situationally. If you do, A, you're going to take that job trauma pattern to the new job. And B, it's going to be begging for your attention. So eventually something's going to happen within your body or your psychological, emotional, spiritual makeup to get your attention because it wants to be healed. And so how this whole thing works with being a human is that when you have something that's not going in the proper way from a soulful, spiritual energy body perspective, you keep getting a little whisper. Hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a new job? Hey, you know, that lower back pain really means more than just lower back pain. There's something really going on you need to pay attention to. Hey, that stomach problem, that diverticulitis, yeah, it's diverticulitis and you get a doctor and everything, but that's really deeper than just diverticulitis. So the soul, the energy body, the subconscious genius within us all is asking for you to pay attention. And if you don't, the voice gets louder. So the diverticulitis turns into a bleeding ulcer. The bleeding ulcer turns into a perforated belly. All of these things get worse. Thanks, Faith. Nice to see you here as well. So all of these things get worse if you keep waiting on them. You've got to pay attention to job trauma, and you've got to cure the injury to the nervous system and to the energy body. If you don't, there's going to be worse consequences coming your way, and sometimes very swiftly. So depending on how long it's been sitting there, how many times it's been like sat upon by other trauma patterns, it's going to get you. And that's the way that it works. I mean, I'm not telling anything just scare you. I'm just saying that's the way it works. I didn't pay attention for year after year. I kept bringing my job trauma pattern to the next job, and I eventually got sidelined with breast cancer. It was my first big physical takeout punch in 2008. I was a runner. I traveled all the time for work. I was a high performer. I knew exactly how to be a great executive. Now, I learned all along the way about how to keep showing up differently and having that bigger identity. I was really good at it. Breast cancer. Pow. Pow. In that recovery, I'm at home. My body's recovering. My brain is kind of like foggy, and talk about a trauma pattern. 13 hours of anesthesia. Woo. Takes a while to come back from that. I had the deepest moments of my own personal reflection during that time. And I've been in therapy. I've been to conferences where we go deep. I've been to all sorts of things. But it was when I was knocked to my knees, where I literally went inside my soul and did a little tour and see what was going on. All right. I've got to tell you something. I found pieces inside of me that I haven't spoken to or seen or aired out or given time to in, let's say I was 47, 30 plus years, 35 years. The little girl inside of me that taught kids how to ride their bikes in the neighborhood without training wheels. The little girl that used to love climbing trees just for the fun of accomplishing something. The little girl who used to like to run faster than boys just to prove herself. The little girl who loved reading the book, The Little Engine Who Could, because she liked overcoming stuff. As an executive, I loved running, growing companies and helping them move through transitions because I loved the tough stuff, which is why now I love helping women transform their lives. Don't give me something easy to do, folks. I like challenges. And I can tell you with pride and humility that now in my kick-ass workshop, we have had nearly 500 women transformed, feeling better about themselves than they felt in decades, and living lives that they hardly imagined possible. Some of them never even imagined possible, except on a vision board in our second module. And so we help get dreams back. We help get careers back and lives back. Women who were making zero or nothing in between jobs and scared shitless are finally making the money and having the lives and jobs that they only imagined in a distant way. And we're bringing that alive. And I am very proud and very humble and very excited every single day to see the beautiful lives come back. And you know what? It takes work. It takes commitment. It takes showing up for yourself. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose. You're going to lose to the game of life. And trauma is going to zap you by the neck, like I talked about the vampire job yesterday. You are going to lose to the trauma because you will allow defeat to have been the answer. Don't do that. Don't let the things that are built in life to make you stronger defeat you. Take care of yourself. Step forward. Own yourself. Be that gritty, kick-ass woman that you know is inside of you. Everyone has it. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter. She's freaking kick-ass. Why? Because no one has told her you can't or don't or it's not possible or stop. No one has told her that yet. Kudos to my son and daughter-in-law. She is a kick-ass soul on the planet, and I get to see in the laboratory of life what it looks like to be a free soul. To say no, and I can't, and this will, and this happened, I don't like that. And not to be feeling judged. She's not judged yet. It will come, as it does in everyone's life. Probably not through her parents, although if you've raised kids, you know eventually you kind of get there. God bless her and my kids. When we are a freed soul, life is just better and easier, and we just feel confident and happy and that everything's going to work out for us, and that it does. When has something not worked for you? If you answer with a list of things, it's because you didn't show up for you. You're the only person who can show up for you. You're the only person who can take the driver's wheel and do it for you. Don't wait for salvation to come. What, your God is going to like pick you up and just save you? No, you've got to freaking do it. God's going to show up for those who show up. That's the way it works. And if I've offended anyone, sorry, but see ya. You've got to take responsibility. Strong desire and tireless effort at staying in that zone. You got to stay in the game to win it. If you peel yourself out of the game, if you play small and say, it's not that important, then that's how you get treated by life. So many women I talk to, they've been out of work for a while, and that's what they're going into. It's not important to make money. It's not important to play big. Yes, it is. Your soul wants to. Your soul is asking for you, please, to play big, make money, do the great things in life, have the influence, have the impact. That's when we feel our best. We never feel good when we're playing small. As a matter of fact, some of the women I work with, their biggest problem is that they're playing small. No one taught them how to unleash and open up and go for it. No one taught them that. So they're doing the supposed to. And perhaps no one in their family was ever more successful than them. They don't have a roadmap. What does this look like? What does this look like to be a vice president? I don't know. So I'm going to stay at the director level and have 5 director jobs in a row because I don't really know how to go to the next level. Ooh, I've never been a vice president before. Okay, I get it. I wasn't either until I was. I wasn't a chief operating officer until I was. I wasn't a national practice director until I was. I wasn't a nurse until I was. That's what it is. So get the job trauma under control and use your nervous system to propel you to the next thing. Don't play the game the same way as when the trauma came to you. Otherwise, you're going to be on that same road of, you've got to play it differently. So here's what to do. You've got to meditate. First of all, you got to commit. You got to take responsibility and commit for yourself. That's the first thing. I just said that. I didn't really call it number 1, but that is the first thing. You've got to take responsibility for yourself and you've got to commit. You've got to commit that there's a better you and you are going to be a better you. You have to make that commitment. If you don't, the difficulties of getting there are going to punch you out of the game. Don't do that. Commit to you. Your life is worth living well. And if you don't feel that way, if you don't have that thing going on, go see a doctor, get on some pills, get yourself taken care of to the level where you feel that you can commit and get ready and show up for yourself because that's what you need to do. And that's what life requires of you. Life requires you showing up. And when you get trauma and the nervous system is shot, you got to freaking handle it. So take responsibility and commit. Number 2, meditate. Some people say to me, hey, Mo, I pray and whatever. I don't really get this meditation thing. You know what meditation thing is all about? Is controlling your nervous system. So we just talked for, 40 minutes about how job trauma basically wrecks your nervous system. You've got to get your nervous system under control. And you do that by learning how to control it. Yes, you can control your nervous system through breath work. I'm going to give you a physiology lesson here. Underneath your rib cage, there's a muscle called the diaphragm. It separates the chest thoracic cavity from the GI abdominal cavity. That diaphragm's job is to breathe. But it doesn't get breath. It doesn't get to be breathing because most people are breathing this way. And if you are doing something that's going to scare you, people say, take a deep breath. That makes your nervous system even worse. Don't do that. You want to do an abdominal breath. You want to do a breath where you're actually pushing your belly out. Oh, it's so unsightly to have a pouched out belly. Breathe in through your belly. Use the diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits kind of like this. And when you breathe in, you open your chest cavity and your diaphragm goes down, pushing the belly out. So that's an inhale. And then you exhale. So I'm going to do it with my hands here. Inhale. Belly goes out. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now doing this and etc. I'm a little clumsy, but I got it kind of under control. You've got to use your diaphragm to breathe, to control your nervous system, because one of the biggest cranial nerves you have, the vagus nerve, is in the diaphragm. And when you use your diaphragm to breathe, you're telling the nervous system, hey, it's okay. We can relax now. Hey, it's okay. Look it up, vagus nerve. Look up what it does. Do your own research. If you don't want to believe me, this is how it works. You have to use your diaphragm to breathe in order to control your nervous system and bring it into a relaxation state. Your nervous system has 2 switches. Switch on the stress response, switch on the relaxation response. Different chemicals. Stress response, you got adrenaline and cortisol as the main drivers. Relaxation response, you have serotonin and dopamine as the main drivers. You want to be living on serotonin and dopamine. It feels good. It feels better than anything you can take. It does. It feels better than anything you can take. It feels better than drinking, than smoking, than drugs. Practice diaphragmatic breathing. Get into a deep meditative state, and you are going to heal your nervous system from job trauma. Now, if you're so bad and so depleted that you actually need medicines to get you over the hump, that's cool. Plenty of my ladies in my workshop are on medicines to help their nervous system. No problem. They're there for a good reason and a good use. Every now and then, when I work with someone, they no longer have to take those. I don't know if that's going to be true for you. I can't tell you that that's going to be true. I'm a nurse, not a doctor. I don't know. I'm telling you from a practical perspective, the experience I have with working with my clients. If you're committed to controlling your nervous system, you will have positive results and your nervous system will feel better. And then you will be able to think, problem solve, interview better, write a better resume, show up bigger, be happy, and not be happy because you're covering up your freaking trauma. I talked with a woman yesterday. Are you still on this call? She thought she was being upbeat in her interviews, but I could feel a deep sense of sadness, a deep sense of that in just talking with her. So I know she's bringing that to her interviews. I know it. I know it. I'm not blaming her. It's what happens. We've got to solve that in order for your life to turn around, in order for you to get back in the game at the level you deserve to play at. Everyone deserves to play at the highest level that they're capable of. And so many women walking on this planet, women, are downplaying what you're capable of. Stop it. Get a good coach. Learn how to play at a higher level. Make more money. Have better vacations. Be able to buy better shoes. Drive a better car. It feels better to make more money. And if you're one of those people who, like, you're rationalizing, I don't really need money. I've got enough money. It's okay to make $40,000 a year. It's not. Okay? Stop that shit. Life is much better when you're making 70 versus 40, when you're making 90 versus 70, when you're making 120 versus 90, when you're making 150 versus 120, when you're making 200 versus 120. Life is better. Oh, it's too much money. I don't need all that. It's a lie. You're lying to yourself. Sorry, you are. People who disregard the value of money basically have not ever had it, or such a poor relationship with it that you don't know how to love on your money. It is not the root of all evil. Money is the root of all good. There are things happening in this world and that have happened in this world through philanthropy that has been in the billions of dollars. That is more good than you could ever imagine. People are the root of all evil because people make bad choices when they're under stress. That's what happens. People make bad choices when they're under stress. Don't be that person. If you're under stress due to job trauma, control your nervous system. Get back on track with who you are. You've got to commit and be responsible for yourself. That's the cure. That's what you got to do. That's what I'm teaching and coaching in my workshop. And we are changing freaking lives because you know what? When you deal with job trauma and you've had a trauma pattern in your body for a couple of decades, you're probably going to need professional help to get past it. Very few people on their own can exert enough effort and focus to get through this. It's the way it is. I've had a coach since the year 2000. I now have 2 coaches in a big coaching group I participate in. I get coached by, support, because I want to live the biggest life possible. I want to be able to show up on these Facebook Lives and rock it. You think this is just because I'm super talented and good looking? No, because I've been coached to come into my greatness and feel great about it. I used to be a shy little kid, super smart, always wanted to do cool stuff. I was hiding because I was not given permission to be that. And it took me decades to come out. It took me decades to figure out who I am and all that I have to offer and to feel comfortable with it. I'm still working on a few pieces of that. And if you're a client of mine, I tell some of my stories in order to help you feel like you're at home in the human race, because this is a human race thing. We're going to have trauma in our lives. It's just, how do we deal with it? How do we process it? And how do we move through it? If you have not moved through your job trauma, you need help. We can be part of that solution, and you can book your clarity call to get things started. We'll help you diagnose what's going on. That clarity call, that's what we do. We give you clarity. Break it down. What's going on with you? What's happening in your career? What's been happening? What are the patterns? Da, 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 da. Can we help you? If we can, we're like, hey, this is our solution. There is an investment. Yes. And don't say, Mo, how much does it cost before I book a call? That's like putting the cart before the horse. Like, don't even worry about it. If we can't help you, the price is zero. Okay. If we can help you, the price is going to be an investment in you, and it's a lifetime investment in you. And your return for yourself is going to be way, way, way more than what you're going to invest in my workshop for you. Okay. That's how that equation goes. And you could certainly feel free to ask one of these ladies on here who are like, oh, this is the best thing I ever did. This is the best thing I ever did. This is the best thing I ever did. I'm not paying them for that. They actually paid me. Okay, so that's the way it goes. We have a great program to help women up-level their careers and turn their job trauma into not the defeat that it felt like it was, but to turn it into the kick in the ass that brought them forward into their full, beautiful, awesome self. That's what I do for a living. That's what we do in my kick-ass workshop. I am proud and happy and humbled to be one of the women on this planet, empowering women in very practical and real ways. We get real results with our women. We're not just putting a Band-Aid on stuff and feel better. We're getting real results. We're doing surgery and rehab. That's what we're doing on a career that needs surgery and rehab. If your career doesn't need surgery and rehab, go hire yourself a resume coach. If that's all that your problem is, doubt it, then go do that. Unfortunately, we see a lot of women who are like, oh, I had a resume coach write my new resume and that didn't really get me anywhere and now it sucks. And I've got a certified resume coach and LinkedIn expert on my team and she's freaking kick-ass. But you know what? She's not going to know how to help you with your resume until we figure out how awesome you are and what you want to do and where you're headed with your career. You got to have the you and the strategy before you have the resume. That's the way the process goes. Job trauma does not need to be a takeout punch. Take yourself seriously, commit to your journey, and learn some of the basics of controlling your nervous system and getting through this trauma. It is here for you to be building yourself as a stronger, soulful, beautiful woman on this planet. Don't let it be a takeout punch. It's meant for you. Get stronger through it. Overcome it. Commit to yourself. Show up for you. Show up for your future. If you have a family, show up for them. But I want you to show up for you first. Oxygen mask on you first, and then you can save the rest of the planet. Job trauma is real. It's a nervous system insult and trauma. You have got to recover from it in order to get your life and your career back on track. We can help you with that. It starts with a career clarity call. It's mofall.com/call-me. And you'll be booked for a clarity call with one of my team members or with me. Luck of the draw. You may be booked with me. And this is what we do. We're going to deconstruct what's going on. We're going to help you see the truth. We're going to then help guide you to a solution. Sometimes the solution is what I do. Sometimes it's not. I've referred women to other coaches, to other programs, and sometimes what's in front of that person is not really what we fix. We'll tell you that. Honestly, we will. We'll lay it on the line. Just like if you go to an orthopedic doctor with an ankle swollen, it could be due to a bug bite. There's no surgery necessary. That bug bite has a different treatment than surgery on ligaments. So we'll tell you that. We know how to figure that out. But you have to book a call and show up on the call so we can help sort it out like we are diagnosing a swollen ankle. Okay? mofall.com/call-me. This is a wonderful time to get serious and committed about what your life looks like and what you must do to move yourself in the direction of being freaking awesome. Because you were born on this planet in this lifetime to be awesome, not to be small and not to be a victim. But if you have been, you can solve it and you can cure it, and we can help you with that. So take your life seriously, commit, responsibility, control your nervous system, do the breath work. If you needed to hear any of this, you can certainly replay and listen to this again. If you need my help, if you would like to sort out your career and see how we can make you freaking awesome, because we're going to bring the best parts of you forward. We don't have to make you awesome. We just find it inside of you and bring it. And there's been plenty of ladies tagged on here who have definitely done that with their careers and lives. And they're loving on me because it's what I did for myself. And now I'm like, all right, everyone, let's go. Let's do this. mofall.com/call-me. And the link is in the comments below. So go ahead and find that link for yourself. Let's get started with you. Commit to yourself and take yourself seriously. There's going to be 3 more of these episodes. If you're not on my email list, please visit mofall.com and pop into my email list and get on the email list. Every Monday, I'm going to delight you with a Motivational Monday message. Every weekend, you're going to get a motivational weekend to listen to during your weekend. Staying upbeat and staying positive and inspired is good, but getting to work on you and fixing the real problem for good is even better. mofall.com/call me. We'll see you on your clarity call. Love and kisses to the most awesome version of you. I love you already. Mwah. See you next time. This is Coach Mofall. You can find me all over social media, Coach Mofall or mofall.com. See you, ladies.